Welcome back to the Weekend Report. I am Masechaba Mposwa. The inaugural 180 Root Cause Analysis Africa Conference takes place from the 11th to the 14th of March in Cape Town. The conference will delve into risks associated with material failure, asset care, and forensic investigations. Now, it brings together top industry leaders and experts and aims to reverse preventable infrastructure failures and costly shutdowns. CEO and founder of 180 Materials Engineering, Dr. Janet Cotton, joins me live now. Doctor, good morning. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Good morning, and thank you for having me on the show.
Firstly, could you paint a picture of the current state of our industries? I mean, what are the risks associated with material failures and asset care?
So the risks are enormous in asset care across a broad spectrum of industries. So one that most people can relate to is food and beverage. And I use the example of a brewery, for example. If a brewery loses any part of the machinery or equipment that is responsible for the throughput of the products going out the door to be bottled, it places the brewery at huge financial risk. You can't just simply stop a brewing process. It's a very complex and intricate, massive process. So all of the industrial equipment that's involved in keeping a brewery going needs to be maintained and cared for, and any failures would put that brewery at risk, at huge financial risk, and possibly the risk of closure.
That's a lovely example. Could you give us perhaps maybe 2 or 3 more examples of these challenges in the industries?
Yes, well, I think another one that we experience every day is, the problem of load shedding, and this is a result of poor maintenance cycles and some poor decisions that were made, metallurgical decisions that were made during the fabrication of the power plants to begin with, and so so that is an infrastructure example. And then we can look at the oil and gas industry where environmental risks are huge. We just have to think of Deepwater Horizon in 2008 off the coast of New Orleans. And imagine that every single subsea fabrication that is producing oil from a well is subject to similar risks. And so the right processing of materials and the right selection of materials is absolutely critical to prevent those sort of failures, especially for the end users like Chevron or Total, because they are not only on a financial hook for an environmental fine, which is, billions of US dollars, but the reputational damage as a corporate organization is something they can never recover from. So that is where materials engineering plugs in, is to prevent these failures and to prevent these not only costly failures, but reputational losses as well.
Now, this is a first of its kind in Africa and will go beyond academic discussions. Now, in what way will the conference address these real-world failures?
Yes, so the conference aims to, first of all, the conference aims to create awareness of a very much a dying profession in South Africa and across Africa. So expertise like what my company offers exists all over America and in Europe. It's the industry, these advanced economies just simply don't survive without the expertise of a materials engineer. But whereas in South Africa, we're trying to, keep breweries alive, keep power stations alive, and so on. And we don't have widespread access to metallurgical engineering. And therefore, the conference is to create awareness of the importance of metallurgical engineering in emerging economies in Africa, so that we can develop the skills and keep them in-house in Africa and not have to rely on bringing these skills in from overseas. And there's no reason why we can't do that. And Africa is an emerging economy. There's amazing economies that are emerging all over Africa. Angola is becoming the oil and gas leader in Africa. We've got incredible things happening in Namibia, mining in Zambia, etc., etc. So the expertise of a materials engineer is going to be required more and more often. And the purpose of the conference is to create awareness of the importance of materials engineering in emerging economies by bringing it into the lion's den, I suppose, of what happens when you don't have this expertise. And what happens is a lot of failures. And failures occur due to the blindsided decisions that are made around big fabrications of industrial equipment for food and beverage, for oil and gas, for infrastructure, for ship repair, any industrial situation, and have a look at the consequences of those failures from a legal perspective, from an insurance perspective. And so that is why we're bringing together underwriters, legal experts, and insurance experts, loss adjusters, and engineers to talk about failure and how to prevent it. That's the end game. The end game is to say, look at all of these failures, look how they've affected people in a different way, look how lawyers view them, how underwriters view them, but how can we actually, after this conference, start developing more awareness within all of these industry sectors so that we can mitigate risk.
Before I let you go, Doctor, how can some of these alarming trends be reversed?
Certainly through making better decisions at the beginning of the project. And if you look at advanced economies, and I use Angola as an example because it is run by a lot of multinational companies. So, Total, Chevron, and BP, ExxonMobil. And they have a whole cascade of materials engineers involved in each and every one of their projects. And they are applying materials engineering expertise at the design phase of the project, at the selection phase, during the development of the manufacturing processes, the welding procedures. They are very strong and heavy on materials engineering expertise to prevent failures going forward. And so that is what we need to do. Underwriters need to perhaps consult with materials engineers before they decide to insure a fabrication, because at the moment they are insuring it blindsidedly. And I can give you an example of Darling Cellars. It was on the news when several tanks fell over, and when we did the investigation, it was actually quite a surprise for the underwriters to see that they were insuring something that was essentially uninsurable.
Doctor, thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
All right, that was Dr. Janet Cotton, now the CEO and founder of 180 Materials, ahead of the 180 Root Cause Analysis Africa Conference taking place from the 11th to the 14th of March in Cape Town.